Over the past few decades, the American attitude toward work has changed dramatically. Once, having a full-time job was considered a source of pride and identity. People used to say things like, "I'm proud to be working hard for my family." And that idea was deeply rooted in American culture. But in recent years, that pride seems to be fading. Today, many Americans say they simply don't want to work anymore, or at least, not in the way society once expected them to. Instead of chasing long hours and stressful schedules, they prefer freedom, flexibility, and personal happiness. This shift didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of social, economic, and cultural changes that have reshaped what work means. The rise of automation, low wages, the COVID-19 pandemic, and even changes in technology all played a part. Suddenly, people started asking themselves questions they never asked before. Why am I working so hard for so little? And is this really worth it? These questions mark the beginning of a new chapter in the American workforce, one where people want balance, not burnout. The idea of success is being rewritten, and work is no longer at the center of life for many Americans. When COVID-19 hit the world in 2020, everything changed. Millions of people lost their jobs, while others were forced to work from home. For the first time, Americans got a chance to slow down and think about their lives. They realized how much time they had spent in traffic, offices, and under stress, often without real satisfaction. Many workers discovered that life could be more peaceful without the daily grind. They could spend time with family, start side businesses, or even move to cheaper places and live comfortably. This was the beginning of what experts called the Great Resignation. By 2021, more than 47 million Americans had quit their jobs. It wasn't just about fear of the virus. It was a collective moment of realization. People didn't want to return to the same old system that left them tired and underpaid. They wanted purpose, flexibility, and respect. For many, the pandemic showed that working endless hours for minimum pay wasn't worth sacrificing mental health and family time. It was a turning point that made people reevaluate everything about the modern workplace. Another big reason Americans stopped wanting to work is simple: money. For decades, wages have not kept up with the rising cost of living. Rent, food, healthcare, and education have become more expensive, while most workers' paychecks have barely grown. In many cases, people work full-time and still struggle to pay their bills. Imagine working 40 hours a week and still not being able to afford basic needs. That's the reality for millions. When people realize that hard work doesn't guarantee a comfortable life, motivation disappears. This has especially affected young people, who now see traditional jobs as traps rather than opportunities. Many prefer to freelance, create online businesses, or work gig jobs, like driving for Uber or delivering food, where they can control their hours. Even though these jobs can be unstable, the freedom they offer is worth it for many. Low wages are not just an economic issue, they're a psychological one too. They send a message that effort doesn't always lead to reward. And that's one of the biggest reasons people have lost interest in traditional work. The pandemic made remote work mainstream. And once people experienced it, there was no going back. Working from home gave Americans a taste of freedom they'd never had before. No more long commutes, strict office rules, or bosses watching every move. People discovered they could be just as productive, or even more, from the comfort of their homes. Parents could spend time with kids, and individuals could manage personal and professional lives more smoothly. This change completely transformed expectations. When companies later tried to force employees back into the office, resistance grew. Many workers simply refused, saying, "If I can do my job from home, why should I go back?" This created tension between employees and employers across the country. The remote work revolution showed people that work didn't have to mean sitting in an office for 8 hours. It could mean flexibility, autonomy, and trust. And once you've had that kind of freedom, it's hard to give it up. Another major reason Americans don't want to work like before is burnout. Over the years, job stress, long hours, and lack of work-life balance have taken a serious toll on mental health. The pressure to always do more and achieve more has left people feeling empty and exhausted. Surveys show that many workers, especially in corporate environments, are mentally drained. They feel that their hard work goes unnoticed and unrewarded. This emotional exhaustion has led to what psychologists call quiet quitting, where employees do the bare minimum just to get by. They're not lazy, they're tired. The culture of endless productivity has broken down, and people are seeking peace instead of promotions. Mental health awareness has also grown in recent years, and now more people openly talk about stress, anxiety, and depression. They're choosing to protect their well-being rather than sacrifice it for a paycheck. It's a silent revolution that's changing the American workplace from within. For decades, the American dream meant owning a house, having a stable job, and raising a family. But today, that dream feels out of reach for many. High prices, student debt, and economic inequality have made traditional success harder to achieve. So people are redefining what success means. Instead of a big house and a corporate career, many now dream of freedom, the ability to travel, live simply, or work for themselves. The internet and social media have opened up countless opportunities for remote income. From content creation to online businesses, younger generations, in particular, don't want to be tied down by a job they hate. They want meaning and creativity in their work. This change has created tension between older and younger Americans, with the older generation often labeling the younger ones as lazy. But in reality, it's not laziness, it's a different value system. The new American dream is not about working hard for someone else. It's about building a life that feels fulfilling and free. Technology is another big reason people are losing interest in traditional jobs. Automation and artificial intelligence are taking over many roles once held by humans. From self-checkout machines to AI-powered customer service, jobs are disappearing faster than new ones appear. This creates uncertainty about the future. Why invest years in a career that might vanish tomorrow? Many workers see the system as unstable and unfair. Even in industries that still rely on humans, machines are replacing tasks, reducing the need for workers. Some people are adapting by learning new tech skills, but others feel left behind. This constant change adds to job insecurity and reduces motivation. When workers don't feel valued or safe in their jobs, they naturally become less willing to participate in the system. The fear of being replaced is real, and it's reshaping how Americans think about work in the long term. For many Americans, the issue isn't work itself, it's how they're treated at work. Toxic corporate culture, micromanagement, and lack of respect from employers have made workplaces stressful. Too often, workers feel like they're just numbers, easily replaced, and rarely appreciated. Studies show that employees who feel undervalued are far more likely to quit. Simple recognition, kindness, and fair treatment can go a long way, but many companies ignore this. People no longer want to give their energy to systems that don't care about them. They want workplaces where they're treated as humans, not machines. This shift has led to more people starting small businesses, freelancing, or joining startups with healthier environments. Respect and dignity have become as important as salary, and companies that fail to understand that are losing talent fast. Another factor in why Americans don't want to work like before is the lack of strong social support. Many developed countries have affordable healthcare, paid family leave, and job protections. In the US, those benefits are limited or expensive, which makes people feel trapped. If you lose your job, you might lose your health insurance too. During the pandemic, when the government provided stimulus checks and unemployment benefits, many people got a brief sense of security they had never felt before. That safety net allowed them to rethink their lives. Some critics said it made people lazy, but others argued it simply gave them breathing space to plan a better future. This showed that when people have basic support, they make more thoughtful career choices, not desperate ones. It also revealed how fragile the American work system really is, relying heavily on fear and survival rather than motivation. The truth is, Americans haven't stopped wanting to work, they've stopped wanting to suffer. They still want to contribute, earn, and create, but they want to do it on their own terms. The idea of work is evolving into something more human and flexible. Freelancing, Remote work, digital entrepreneurship, and creative jobs are replacing old office roles. One of the most fascinating parts of this shift is the generational divide between older and younger Americans. For many in the older generation, work was life. They grew up during a time when loyalty to a company meant stability. A person could stay at one job for 30 years, get a pension, and retire comfortably. That world doesn't exist anymore. The younger generations, especially millennials and Gen Z, saw how that loyalty often led to burnout and disappointment. They watched their parents work endlessly and still struggle financially. So, they decided to take a different path. To them, work is not about status, it's about balance and meaning. They are willing to quit jobs that don't respect them, even if it means earning less for a while. They value mental health, time freedom, and flexibility over traditional success. Older generations sometimes label them as lazy, but the truth is, they've simply stopped believing in a system that no longer works. This generational clash is redefining the American workplace, where old ideas about hard work are being replaced with new ideas about smart work. Another big part of why Americans don't want traditional jobs is the rise of the gig economy. Apps like Uber, DoorDash, Fiverr, and Upwork have made it easy for anyone to start earning money on their own terms. Instead of working for one boss, many Americans now work for themselves or for multiple clients at once. This flexibility is appealing, especially to younger people who dislike rigid schedules. The idea of having side hustles has become a cultural norm. You can see people driving for Uber during the day, selling online courses at night, or creating digital content on weekends. While gig work doesn't always provide stable income or benefits, it gives people something traditional. Jobs rarely offer control. Workers decide when, where, and how they want to work. This freedom makes them feel independent and empowered. However, the downside is that gig jobs often come without health insurance or long-term security. It's a trade-off between stability and freedom, and many Americans are choosing freedom, even if it means living with uncertainty. Social media has also played a powerful role in changing how Americans view work. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are filled with influencers showing off lifestyles that don't revolve around traditional jobs. Young people see others traveling the world, working remotely, or earning money online, and they start asking, "Why can't I do that too?" This constant exposure to alternative lifestyles has reshaped ambitions. Instead of dreaming about office promotions, many dream about freedom and creativity. On social media, you don't have to wear a suit or clock in at 9 a.m. You just need an idea, a camera, and the internet. Of course, not everyone becomes successful online, but the very existence of this path has changed how people think. It has made the traditional 9-to-5 job look outdated and even depressing to some. Influencers often talk about escaping the rat race, a phrase that perfectly captures how many Americans feel. They don't want to climb a ladder that leads nowhere. They want to build their own. The problem also starts much earlier with the education system. For decades, young Americans were told that going to college was the key to success. They took massive student loans, believing that a degree would guarantee a good job. But after graduation, many found themselves drowning in debt and stuck in low-paying jobs. This disappointment has created deep frustration. People who did everything right, studied hard, went to college, followed the rules, still couldn't afford rent or healthcare. That experience made many lose trust in the promise of hard work. It also pushed them to look for non-traditional paths to income, like freelancing, online business, or creative work. When the system fails to deliver what it promises, people naturally stop believing in it. Today, many young Americans are rethinking college altogether, asking whether it's worth spending years in debt for jobs that may not even exist in the future. Technology is advancing so fast that skills become outdated within a few years. This rapid pace has made many workers anxious. A job that feels secure today